Greetings, I'm Ken Dickey, and this is a series of show and tell videos on Cuis Smalltalk, and specifically color and color tools and color in the user interface. And so I'm going to, as I go through this in segments, show you little bits of how all of the pieces are kind of put together and how they play well together. Because we have objects all the way down here, we can do that, which is very nice. And so I'm starting with the pretty much the base Cuis image, and with just a couple of changes. And I can show you that by opening a package browser, and you see we have 0 packages in here. So that tells us we're probably in the base image. And if I come up here and let me grab a new morph, and let's see, I want to use a string morph. Okay, and now if I middle click on that, I get the construction handles, and a menu for that shows me that there are some basic things to do. I can send it back, bring it forward, change a color, copy to the clipboard, whatever. Change font or emphasis. But what I want to do is show some tools that have been added. So we're going to get a feature require morph meta properties, which adds some interest to menus and makes things easier to deal with. And you'll see that this feature has a package which requires some other things, and so each of those also requires some other things. And so we're getting the pre-flight here, which goes through and finds all of the requirements, and then loads things in the proper order if everything's available. Very nice thing to have. And okay, now we're getting the morph meta properties, and you see we now have a bunch of things in here in addition to the morph meta properties, which is what I asked for. Because of the requirements here, we got named colors, color extras, file compression, color editor, some extra widgets, and that sort of thing. And now if I take a look at this string morph with the middle click and ask for a menu, you notice the menu is different. And so we have, in addition to the old menu, is we have these graphic properties of the morph that we can do interesting things with. Whoops. Okay, let me go ahead. I want to make some changes to this anyway. I'll get this back. Hit the push pin this time. If you don't hit the push pin, it's a one-shot change, because sometimes you want to do something very simple. So let's make that bold, and my little test string. Okay, I'll take that, and I'm also going to want another morph over here. Let's do a bordered rect morph for a change. Okay, so if I do the same thing here, use one of the handles to resize, and I get a menu for this guy, you see that I can, in addition to the color being displayed in the menu, I can take this and drag it and drop it over here. Oops, sorry. Do that. Drop it over here, and voila, we get the same color over here. If I take and say drag the morph position over here, this doesn't happen to be a morph that, or something that displays itself as a morph, so it has a sign morph that shows it, and it pretty much disappears because I put the one string in the same position as the bordered rect morph, and they're the same color, so you're kind of hard to see. but you get the idea that we've got drag and drop enabled. And if we take something like a border width and try to put that on top of a color, you see that doesn't work. Uh, so yeah, I don't really need that value. But if I take a color and move it to another color, then you see it was a little bit green there. So there's some little bit of subtlety here that just on feedback, additional feedback to show you what's going on and what makes sense between things. I guess I should also show that just in terms of the interface, if you have a whole bunch of menus up, it's easy to confuse about. You may have more than one bordered rect morph or whatever, so you can go down and click and see show the target halo, the construction handles on the particular morph that's associated with a particular menu, so you don't get confused. So again, it's visibility and control. Where am I? What can I do here? So, so I'm not going to worry about that for the moment. But when I'm doing things, as designer visual interfaces or user visual interfaces anyway, I have some sensitivity to how things are laid out and so forth, and a particular aesthetic, and certainly you can go through and go into the preferences and change the theme and all those sorts of things. But you might want to have your own themes, or you might be using something in terms of graphic design where you're doing a whole bunch of layouts to use somewhere else or whatever. But it's very nice to have control over color. And one of the things about color is that a lot of people have are named colors, color dictionaries. There's some theoretical models that try to generate color names, and then there's been a number of surveys where a number of people are run through a survey to find out what names for colors people agree on. And so if I click on, rather than dragging and dropping, if I click on something like color, then I get my choice of an editor or a possible set of color names. So a crayon dictionary is pretty small. We've got web colors. We've got a couple of interesting color dictionaries. So you can take a palette, and then if you just hold your tooltip for the palette, shows you what the particular color name is, and you can do those sorts of things. Now let me go ahead and make that wider. Sorry about that. And so let me just I'm not. These are pretty random, but okay. And we can also drill down and say browse the morphs class, which I may have showed before. And so a bordered rect morph is inherits from rectangle-like morph, which inherits from morph, which is just the state and behavior of a graphical object, which of course is itself an object, and so forth. And so it's easy to find out about these things and tie things back and forth. So another thing about color is when not every color you want is necessarily going to be in one of these color palettes, and so you could also have a color editor to mix and match your own. And so we can drag this in here, and this is one we start out with, a light sea green. That happens to be, that's interesting. I thought that was topaz. That lookup must be changed. Okay. Oh, it's a different color dictionary. Sorry. You can have multiple color dictionaries in this system. Anyway, and this smaller swatch in the lower right here is actually the closest. Oh, that's what light sea green is. That's the closest. Yeah, That's the difference. This light sea green is the closest CSS3 web color. And 16R just means radix 16, which means hex. And then you have red and green and blue. And this thing, this colored square here is one slice through the color cube, an RGB color cube. So let me talk about that for a minute. And so the red, green, blue color cube is just a three-dimensional cube where the axes are the values of the colors. So red, green, and blue all go from 0 to 255, which is basically the number of bits in a byte, which is your RGB value. And blow that up. And so if you hold two of the values fixed, say red and green, and then you think of like putting a slider along blue, then what you're doing is you're showing with a fixed red and green a particular slice through this color cube. And so as you move the slider along here, you see a different slice of the color cube. And so that's what the idea of this this tool here is. You're actually seeing, so let me actually just click blue, and you'll see red and green are fixed, and this the color along the slider is actually that 1 pixel in value from the minimum to the maximum. So that you see the blue changing from low to high on the right, the actual value. And over here, if you click, you've got a little donut, and that donut or circle is the place where you're taking this particular color value from. And again, you can you can drag and drop anywhere here and start from a different location, or click around and make your selection. Hue, saturation, and brightness, I guess I should cover briefly. Hue is just a hue of the rainbow. So you just go through your rainbow of colors here to some place you like. Brightness is goes from black to exceedingly bright, and saturation is the intensity of the color. So if we become more saturated, then you see how the colors get more intense. So that's just a way, one particular way of having control and visibility in the environment. You can also, of course, go through here and change the RGB value, and it'll go through. It takes a little bit to recalculate the display there. So anyway, that's just a quick introduction through color in the user interface and how you control color in that. And so in my next segment, I'm going to start from base Cuis image and go a little bit at a time to see how all of these tools and affordances in the menus and so forth are put together, how they talk to each other, the mechanics of how they play together. And hopefully that'll be interesting to everybody. Hope to catch you next time.